The bronzy glowy makeup look I feel like is a makeup classic, and you've probably tried it on yourself at some point. But if you have similar makeup issues like I do, where things may pull really warm, look really heavy, or just not give you that like I just came back from the beach look that it gave other people, this is going to be a great tutorial for you and hopefully make you fall back in love with bronzy tones, because today I'm going to be showing you how to get that classic look but not have it pull too warm, because you can still achieve that same sort of classic look without having to use such warm tones that drain the life out of you like they do me. Starting with skincare, I'm gonna mix 2 serums. First we have the Peach and Lily Copper Peptide Pro Firming Serum. This one is really liquidy. And then we have the classic Glass Skin Refining Serum. I love both of these. I like to mix these because this one is so liquidy, it just applies a little bit better when I mix them. And they're both gonna go on my face anyway. So I do about 2 pumps of the Glass Skin Serum and 2 little pumps of the Copper Peptide one. And we're just going to apply that. Peach and Lily is like one of my favorite skincare brands ever. So if they're on sale, I think they might be on sale on Ulta. You know, Ulta's having like their spring sale. Definitely try them if you need some skincare. Really good for sensitive skin. Their products are really great under makeup as well. So I'm gonna use the Peach and Lily Matcha Pudding Antioxidant Cream on top of that, which is this really pretty green matcha moisturizer. This is like the perfect texture. It's not really thick or really thin. I also love their gel moisturizer for summer if you like a really lightweight feeling moisturizer. So that's just gonna make our skin nice and prepped for our foundation. We're gonna be doing a lot of cream work as well, so a really nice skincare base is important for my foundation. I thought I would use the About Face, the Performer foundation. I mixed 2 shades. I do mostly the lighter shade F1 Neutral, but I also will mix in a little bit of the F2 Olive. And these have little doe foot applicators, so I'll show you how I sort of do the amount of each. So I do mostly this lighter shade. I could wear both of these on their own. This one's just a little bit light and the olive one's a little bit dark. And then taking the olive shade, I'll actually kind of focus this one more on the perimeters of my face. And I really like this foundation with a sponge. Just so lightweight and applies it beautifully. This is just one of the most beautiful foundations ever in terms of it looking like skin. Like it just looks so skin-like and feels really lightweight. And then I will go back in. I'm just using the olive shade here for any blemishes. I want to keep the base like natural and sort of glowy, but still perfected. Also grabbing the lighter shade as concealer, because when I say I love this foundation formula, I really love it, even as concealer. It doesn't perform like as creaseless as my House Labs concealer, but it is really nice, light under eye perfector. I do already have brows on, by the way, and eye primer, so I didn't put any concealer on top of there yet. So moving on to one of the very important sort of concepts of this look is the bronziness, the cream bronzers, just the warmth we're going to start layering onto the look. So to be able to get the bronzy look without having that like orangey tone, I have a couple of recommendations here. First are the Thrive Causemetics bronzer sticks. Now I have 2 shades of these that I really like, depending on what undertone you feel like looks better on you. So over here we have Mo. These are so great for fair skin. This one is more of like a neutrally, almost red, not quite. It just like really is like a truly neutral bronzer. It's so pretty. And then we also have the Jan shade, which maybe if you have like more of a warm olive or true olive undertone, this one is a bit more like yellow toned. It's also a little bit lighter. I honestly love both of these and I'm going to be using both today. So starting off with that more yellow shade, I'm just going to put this in the, you know, normal bronzer areas. So chin, cheeks, top of forehead, and then grabbing my Rose Ink foundation brush, I'm going to start to work this in. So typically with these really bronze looks, you would see a lot of more like orange, very warm bronzer on the face. Same goes with the eyes. But I really wanted to do this to show you that you can still get that like sun-kissed warmth to your skin without having it look orange if you have more of like a cool neutral undertone, or if you just have fair skin like me. I also think layering colors is a really great technique to create that dimension and warmth without having to use something that's like super pigmented. So now going in with this more brown shade, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter with this one because it's just slightly more pigmented, but just in those same areas. And then blending out with that same brush. Use the same brush, it also, whatever sort of residual of this shade will help to blend in this new shade. And then to really make sure that everything is seamless, going back in with my sponge, just going to blend everything together, and whatever foundation's also left over on this will help with our blending. So I always recommend starting with less because it's really easy to build something up, especially if products tend to look warm or orange on you versus using a lot. So we do have that bronziness starting to develop. Now I'm gonna layer another product that's gonna give us a lot more dewiness, and it is a little bit more warm, but it's more of a sheer formula. So this is from Westman Atelier. This is actually one of their highlighter sticks in the shade Brûlée, which is this really gorgeous sort of reddish warm tone. It's definitely not too orange on me, and the reason I'm using a highlight is because it is more sheer. It's just going to be a lot more wearable and sort of like user friendly, and I'm going to use this as a bronzer topper, I guess you could say. And this is just going to really enforce that bronzy look that we're going for. I put it in all the same places. I'm not going to put it on my chin though, just because this is a more dewy product. And hopefully you can see it's just going to add that radiance, and also gives a lot of dimension when you're using multiple different shades. It's not totally necessary. You could just use one that really works for you, but I just wanted to show you these options to really build that like super bronzy depth. This just looks so gorgeous as a bronzer. Don't be afraid to use some more like unconventional products as bronzers. Like if you have a highlight that's too dark, maybe try it out as a bronzer topper and see if it works, because it's also a great way to find tones that aren't going to pull too warm or orange, because I feel like so many bronzers now are just very warm pulling. So now I do want to do some cream blush before we move on. Now for blush, I'm not going to do a warm tone blush because we have those bronzy warmish products on. I just don't like, you don't have to do a warm blush to get the bronzy look, especially if they're not like flattering on you like they aren't on me. So I'm going to go in with this Undone cream blush, which is a very cool tone pink, because I think just having a really flattering blush, whatever shade or undertone that is for you, is going to be just the most like fresh looking. Because bronzy look, I think of, you know, it's fresh, bronzy, you just got back from the beach. This is the shade Rosy, by the way. I'm actually just going to use my fingers to start to blend this in, and I just used the sheer version, by the way. There's 3 different pigmentation levels in these. Once that's vaguely blended out, I'm going to go back in with the same exact brush and just start to pat that in. So a bronzy look is being sun-kissed, right? So if you do want to add a little bit of blush to the tip of the nose like this, because if you are very fair or have more cool toned skin, when we do get bronzy, it's not necessarily like we're going to be super tan. It might be a little bit more redness in our skin, so you can sort of play with that a little bit. That's why I really recommend using just whatever blush tones flattering on you, because if I were to do this with a really warm color, it would just maybe look a little bit off. I'm feeling like I want a little bit more color, so now I'm going to take this medium pigmentation level of the blush and just start to build it up. This is such a pretty cool tone, like purpley pink. Mentioned it in my ultimate cool tone blush guide cream version that I just posted, and I just focus this more on the back of the cheeks when I am layering blush. I like to almost do like an ombre where it's a little bit darker here, again because the sun might hit that more, and then when you come in it could be a little bit more sheer. Okay, I added even more blush. I want to make this really pigmented because I'm going to go back in with the foundation that we used as concealer just to do a little bit more under the eyes, and then it's also going to help just blend in the blush for a very seamless look. So as I'm blending that concealer, I am just going to go over every cream that's on my face now. So that blush, bronzer, foundation I used as concealer. I want it to be one cohesive unit on the face, basically. It's also another good time to assess what's going on, so I feel like I could do even more warmth. So I'm going to take the Westman Atelier highlight stick. This is sheer, so it's really buildable. I'm just gonna do a little bit more on the cheeks. All right, I'm definitely feeling very bronzy now. We do have to start to set things down though. I'm gonna stay with some more luminous slash satin powders, just not to knock down the glow too much. So for the under eyes, I'm gonna be using the Mercier brightening powder. I love that this is a truly translucent powder. And it does have a little bit of like a shimmer in it, so it just brightens up the under eyes really nicely. I'm gonna only put this on the under eyes and right on the sides of the nose. Also gonna take a little bit of that right on the chin and center of the forehead, basically the highlight points. Now for highlight, I want to add a little bit of this Merit Beauty highlight, which is the Kava shade. This is more of like a sheer neutral champagne type of highlight. Really hard to see because it's so sheer, but it's not gonna be like, the thing with highlight is I really can't go warm at all because it just pulls it too dark. So it's just one of those things where I feel like blush and highlight, keep it flattering with your skin. Okay, after that, I just want to really lightly set down these creams. I'm gonna use the Bareminerals Original Mineral Veil. This is the pressed version. Again, a really nice, truly translucent pressed powder. And I'm just going to use a big fluffy brush. This one's from Make Beauty, just to set the creams. I'm not gonna set the highlight, I'm just gonna do the bronzer and blush. So this is another really great tip if you feel like all bronzers pull warm or orange on you. Taking a blush that is this sort of shade, this one's from Patrick Ta. This is the shade She's Seductive, which is this really like muted rosy, like it almost looks like a bronzer type of shade. This is quite sheer, by the way. I think this one might have a little bit of hard pan going on, but I just like to really work my bronzer brush into this shade, and then you can just go in and then use it as a nice sculpting bronzer shade because it has that little bit of pink. I feel like it's just way more natural looking, as if we were to actually be in the sun, like I mentioned before, it would probably be a little bit more red and less orange. I'm also gonna start the eyes using this blush as a transition shade because I want all those tones to look cohesive and nice and blended. So moving into eyeshadow, I'm going to be using some like very specific type of, they're like neutral shades that are sort of bordering on maybe having a little bit of warmth, but also some more cool tone leaning shades. And I'm going to just show you how I mix those to create that bronzy effect without it being too orange looking. So first, this is from Jane Iredale. This is a matte palette. And I'm going to start with this sort of more pinky peach shade, which is kind of the theme with this look, is instead of going with like very orange shades, if you take something that's just a little bit more pink, I feel like it works so much better. And this shade is really light, so I'm just going to use this as a transition shade on top of that blush that we put down. Just really create a nice seamless base. Also grabbing that shade for the lower lash line. Next, I'm going to take this MAC shade, which is called Wedge, which is a matte shade. And as you can tell, this has like this neutral, it almost reminds me of one of the Causemetics bronzers. Like it doesn't pull too orange, it's more like has a hint of yellow in it almost. I just feel like these types of browns are so much more flattering. So I'm gonna take this on a smaller crease brush and I just want to start to build a little bit of definition. It's a beautiful eyeshadow formula. I feel like it's perfectly pigmented, and I'm just gonna start to build it up till I feel like I have a really nice crease definition. Hopefully you can see, like it gives that bronzy effect, but it's not really orange. And I also just took a little bit of that right on the lower lash line, so I made it really smoky. So we have a nice base for the next shade we're gonna put down, which is another MAC shade, but we're gonna go quite cool tone with this. This is the Satin Taupe Frost shade, which is the single eyeshadow, which is this really pretty gray brown, mixing these sort of like gray brown shades with the slightly like yellow warm brown. It's gonna like just make it a little more cohesive if you have cool tones. It's gonna bring it back to that cool leaning vibe a little bit more. So taking the shade on a flat brush, I'm gonna start to work this in almost all over the lid. I'm gonna leave the very inner corner blank though. I love the shade because it has such a nice smoothly pigmented base, so when you do build it up like I did here and blend it out, like the color still stays in that frosty finish, adds to the dewy vibe of sort of like the bronzy look, because that's very like that's a quintessential part of the bronze look, is the like glowiness of it as well, which is why you can still achieve it without having to use such like orange tones. The Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette also has some nice tones that would work really well with this look. I think I might do a little bit of this shade, which is Ella. It's a really pretty bronze shade that doesn't pull too warm. This palette is so good if you have like neutral cool undertones. I'm just gonna layer a little bit of this on the outer corner. It is slightly more of like a chunky shimmer than the MAC one as well. The MAC one's really nice to blend out. I definitely prefer these with the fingers. Going back into the Jane Iredale palette, this is the shade Naturally Matte, by the way. I'm gonna take this very light, slightly warm toned shade as a brow bone highlight. And then this shade will also be on the inner corner. Now you could definitely continue to build the intensity of this look if you wanted to just be more nighttime dramatic. I definitely prefer my looks a little bit more natural, so I'm gonna keep it at this intensity. I just really like this like mid-tone brown, but I still feel like a nice smoky bronzy liner is a very important part of this look. So I'm gonna go in with a wooden pencil. This is also from MAC. This is the Teddy Eye Kohl, which I believe is the new like Teddy collection from them. So I'm gonna take this, which is, let me swatch this actually. It's a really gorgeous brown. It has like a slight maroon reflect to it. It's like a metallic liner. I feel like this is just so perfect for being bronzy, but it's not like an orange liner. Like it just is such a nice chocolatey color. And I just like to start by drawing that on the outer corner. And then these are really blendable too. Taking a smaller brush and smudging it out. Isn't that just the prettiest bronze liner? I love using a metallic liner as well for these like glowy looking looks because it's just gonna add the dimension. Next I'm gonna go back in with the Satin Taupe shade, which is that cooler tone. And I'm just gonna go right over that eyeliner to blend it in even further. I want this to be really, really smoky. For the waterline eyeliner, you could take it a couple of different directions. You could go a little bit more yellow gold like this NYX Epic Wear liner and gold plated, which I really like. I think it's beautiful. The Victoria Beckham Kajal liner in bronze is also nice, more like yellowy gold. There's also this great one from Make Beauty. This one is called Halo, which is more of that neutral shade. Let me swatch these for you. So that's the NYX one. The Make Beauty one, you can tell compared to the MAC, definitely has more of that cool purple tone. Or you could just use that same MAC liner, which I'm gonna be using today. And then I'm gonna use some of the Maybelline Sky High Mascara in brown. I feel like a brown mascara is perfect for a bronzy look. It just ties in with all of the brown tones that we're using. While the mascara is drying, let's talk about lips. I'm gonna take this Revlon lip liner. This is the Color Stay Longwear in the shade, see if I can find it. Okay, it's the shade Nude, which is a slightly warmer pink. Lip products pull very warm on me very easily. I have a whole cool toned lip guide video if you haven't seen it, if you're looking for like truly colors that will not pull too warm. I did include some like neutral-ish warmer tones in there, and these are some of them that don't pull too warm either, although they are sort of more like neutrally warm shades. They don't pull too orange. They're like a little bit more on the pink side, if you know what I'm saying. So let's start with this lip liner. Next up, I feel like this Mom Beauty lipstick, which I included in that cool tone video, is just perfect for this look because it encapsulates that bronzy vibe without pulling orange. It's just like a really interesting grayish. This is the shade M102, by the way. These are super pigmented, and that's why I did a little bit more of a pink liner just to add some life to it. I'm gonna pat this on. Usually with these looks you'd see like a really warm peachy nude lip almost, but I really like taking it in this kind of slightly grungier direction. Isn't that beautiful? I do want to make it a little bit glossy though, so I have one of these MAC Squirt Plumping Gloss Sticks. I've never tried this. This is the Simulation shade, which looks gorgeous as a neutral tone. So here's the swatch. Oh yeah, that's such a pretty like coffee-ish shade. I think this would be gorgeous on its own as like an everyday lip color, but also on top of this, the tone of this is gorgeous. Here is our finished look. I love how this came out. Kind of made me fall in love with bronze tones, and I hope it inspired you as well. If you've kind of tried these looks in the past, maybe following other tutorials or other like inspo pics, and they just look so warm, off, or heavy on you, try this rendition and see if you like it. This would be gorgeous with lashes. Like it just, I love the tones so much. But thanks for hanging out. There will be another video here so we can keep hanging out for a little bit. See you over there. Bye.